Very good evening to all of you participants. I myself Siddharth, and I am a MLOps engineer by profession, and I have about total 8+ years of working experience. And in my current job role, I am playing the role of an MLOps engineer, where my primary responsibility is to deploy the machine learning code that is developed by my developers, the machine learning engineers. We make them as part of container images, and we deploy those container images into Kubernetes involving Kubeflow and MLflow. So this is my current job role, and I am a principal consultant into this role, where I take care of the uh, end-to-end pipeline development involving the MLOps. Yep. And I'm a certified engineer across 3 cloud providers: AWS, Azure, and GCP. So participants, I hope I'm very clear with my job role. Participants, am I clear?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. So it would be great if you can give me a quick round of introduction about yourself, participants. Just about a line or two about yourself. Arvind, Jeffin, Saikat, Hruday, Vipul. It would be great if you can quickly introduce about yourself. Arvind, would you like to get?
Okay.
yeah. Hi, Siddharth. Myself, Arvind Kumar, and my home location is Hyderabad, and around 10 plus years of experience. I worked in different technologies like a SQL DBA, cloud admin. So already I discussed with you in the previous session, in the morning previous session. I have not knowledge on DevOps like a Kubernetes.
Okay, okay. I remember. I remember. Thank you, Arvind. Next, we'll move to Saikat. Hi, Saikat.
Hi, Siddharth. Myself, Saika Saha. I am overall having experience 13 plus years on mainly on application and network management product, and as well as I have some experience in DevOps as well. And Currently, I am eager to learn MLOps, and I would like to know I am based on Kolkata, and I would like to know in MLOps how solution architect having the opportunity in the current market scenario. So it would be great if you can give us the idea.
Sure, definitely. We have Jeffin. Hi, Jeffin. Can you hear us?
My name is Jeffin and I'm from Bangalore. I'm working as a DevSecOps engineer. I have total of 4+ years of experience.
Very good. We have Hruday, Vipul.
Hi everyone, I'm Vipul. I have around 13 years of experience in IT and I'm working as a DevOps engineer. So we basically practice SRE practices, SRE roles and all. Okay, are there in my team? So basically, I've joined this course to understand like how these models are deployed because most of the industry is moving towards AI. So that's my expectation from this course. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Hruday and Nilesh, if you guys can close it off, I'll get started and continue. If Hruday is unable to speak, we have Nilesh. Nilesh, can you please introduce yourself? Okay, fine. So, participants, let me get started to the point. So, once again, thank you once again to all the participants for giving me the quick round of introduction. So, straight to the point, why there is a need for MLOps? Because DevOps has grown across all the major cloud providers and help a lot of companies to get their applications, like a simple Java based application to that of a .NET based applications. They have been able to go and deploy thoroughly across the cloud practices involving the CI/CD part. That is, if an application like a Java or a .NET application is built by a developer, from there the code is expected to be pulled, built, tested, deployed via these pipelines. So pipelines have become very popular. So the same logic has been applied into machine learning. Because what exactly is machine learning? Machine learning is just like a application, but these applications are predominantly do some kind of analysis based upon the data that is given to them. So yes, there is someone, please. Okay, so participants, do not worry. If you have any questions, you can post the question in the chat window. I'll take that question, and then if still that question has not been discussed, you can post through the last part of the session where I'll go and spend time with you discussing your questions. Okay, in the meanwhile, may I continue with the discussion, participants? May I continue with the discussion? Okay, fine. So participants, what I was discussing about the concept of MLOps. Before that, the concept of DevOps. I hope most of you are already inclined towards the learning of the fundamentals of DevOps. So I hope that is the reason that has been your driving motivation to join this session. So this session focuses on MLOps part, where we go ahead and replace the idea of the general applications like a Java or a .NET application getting replaced by the idea of a machine learning code, basically a machine learning. So what we expect from a machine learning? We expect from a machine learning, what is that we expect? We go ahead and give the data to that model. The model gets developed with the training, and the trained model is get reviewed and deployed across. So if you look at, there are two parts in this image and I am trying to highlight. The one part is all about primarily about the model development. That is basically the machine learning, this part, the one. And the other part that you see on the yellow side, which is the ops part, operations part. And this is a machine learning part. So why did I go ahead and bring this image? Because you might have already came across DevOps engineering, where you see the concept of CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So when there is a continuous integration and continuous deployment, what happens in the MLOps pipeline? The MLOps pipeline also driven by this idea, continuous integration and continuous deployment. But here, what basically happens is there are various stages that we had. Now they come into picture. Like the first stage is called EDA. What does the word EDA stands for? Exploratory data analysis. That means we collect the data. Then the data is prepared. Why data is prepared? Because model is getting developed. The development of the model take place. The developed model is going to be trained. To such an extent, the model becomes thoroughly learned that what exactly the model is expected to do. And then we go ahead and review the capability of the model. Then we deploy this model so that it will be available at an inference so that people will go ahead and use it. Participants, are you able to connect the idea of MLOps, everyone? Participants, are you now able to connect the concept of MLOps based upon the definition of DevOps? Participants, are you with me, everyone? Okay, so it is going to be very easy if you come from a DevOps background. But let's assume that you are not into the DevOps. So how can you go ahead and pick this MLOps? So to understand this, let me break down the MLOps into two parts: machine learning and the ops. So let's break down stage by stage. So in the case of machine learning, what happens? It is the developer who is given a primary task to develop a model. What is his model? Maybe it has to do some kind of classification. A model is expected to go ahead and do a prediction. Model is expected to go ahead and classify something, some kind of goal we have this from this model. So the developer is expected to. So let me give an example so that you can get it easily relatable. You can get it easily related. Let me go ahead and give you an example of a database where I have database about my customers. a structured data. What does that I have is a structured data. Why structured data? Because this is a database. So when I have a database, so I expected to have name of the customer in this database, loans database, like customers information from the bank. So name of the customer, what is his CIBIL score, okay, what has been his annual income, what has been his expenditure. All this information is being maintained in this database. So based upon this, the concept of loan, I want to go ahead and apply and see whether this customer will be able to go ahead and make a purchase for the loan, yes or no. The model should be able to go ahead and do a prediction. Now, majorly when a person is expected to take a loan, when his income is on a higher note and his expenses are very less. So these two factors can influence the person ability to take a loan. So now I have a database where I have a structured database involving a table where I supposed to go ahead and get all these data from the database and focus on building a model. That is basically the ML engineers will go ahead and feed this data into the training model so that they want to see what is the annual income and the expenditure that an individual has. Based upon this, they want to evaluate the ability to take the loan. And let's assume that this database has around about 1 lakh customers. 1 lakh customers. So now let me just take the role of a machine learning engineer. What I do, I go ahead and train my model for these 1 lakh records. Whether he will buy, so there is already a data that he has already bought it. Yes. If he did not buy, there is no. So likewise, I will go ahead and write the Python code. That is basically I'm developing a model. I did the EDA, exploratory data analysis. So I have taken the data, I prepared my data, and I developed the model, and I'm training the model. Training or retraining. For now, training the model. Now my machine is ready. The model is ready. So what is the expectation I have? The goal of the model? The goal of the model is very simple. When I go ahead and upload information about my customers, my new customers who are very new to into the system, we have all the information about the customer's annual income, his CIBIL score, his expenditure that is expected. So now I want to go ahead and predict with this model where there is a chance whether he will be able to take the loan with a yes, or if he does not go take with the loan, no. And also I want to see how accurate the model is. So that is the goal of my model. Participants, are you able to relate with the goal of the model? I have an expectation from my model that the model should be able to go ahead and do the prediction for a customer who is uploaded into the model, and the model is asked whether this new customer with information about his CIBIL score, his income, his expenditure, all these details are given, will he be able to make a purchase? Yes or no? If yes, with what accuracy? If no, what accuracy? That's basically the goal of my machine learning model. Am I clear, everyone? Arvind,
Yes,
Hriday,
yes,
Jeffin,
yes,
Nilesh, yes. Now this is a
yes.
model. So let's assume that this model is nothing but a Python code. For now, to make your life easy, just visualize this nothing but the machine learning engineer has written a code which is basically the Python code. This Python code is available inside a GitHub repo. Am I good to all of you participants? Where is this data? Where is this code? The code is available inside a GitHub repo. Then where exactly would you like to go ahead and place your data? Data is a structured, so we can get the data pulled from a database. We can bring it in the form of a file, like a CSV file, like banking data, banking.csv file. So where do you expect this data to be placed? This data to be placed inside a object storage. Let's consider a cloud provider like AWS. S3, very popular. Azure, blob storage. GCP, Google Cloud, GS bucket. So these are the storages where I go ahead and place my data. So the data is getting placed there. The moment the data is available, now I will write the code where I will go ahead and place the code inside a GitHub repo. I would go ahead and place inside the GitHub repo. So participants, now you are understanding where exactly the placement of your data, S3 bucket, or it is inside your Google Cloud storage or your blob storage. Machine learning engineer, ML engineer is expected to write the code in Python and submit that code into where? Into GitHub repo. Now participants, you have been hired as an MLOps engineer. So what is your responsibility is to take this code and focus on developing this model. Basically, you need to build a model. So what you will do, you will sit along with the build engineer, you will sit along with the machine learning engineer, where you will understand what are the different stages that are involved. So you will understand what are the stages that are involved. So the developer will say, hey, I am supposed to go ahead and take the data from S3 bucket. I need to develop a model. That model gets developed and the model needs to get trained, and then we need to review. Then you start your deployment. So now, what is my responsibility as an MLOps engineer? I need to start creating a storage for my data. I need to let my developer to write his code, so the data preparation is done. Then the development of the code is done to build a model, and the training is done. So this is basically now a Python code that we expected to go ahead and place it in where? Into GitHub repo. GitHub repo, why I'm highlighting every time again and again, that is where my source is going to be written for the code. I will write the source code for it. Where is the data that I'm going to be placing? S3 bucket or somewhere inside my local storage, some kind of cloud or local storage where I will keep my data. For now, let's make it S3 GitHub repo. So participants, you have any questions here before I go to the next part? Do you have any questions here? Arvind, Jeffin, Vipul, Nilesh, Saikat, do you have any questions? Now we are at a stage where we have decided to place our data into S3 cloud storage, and we go ahead and use GitHub a repo where we will go ahead and submit our Python code for the model, developed model. Before I go to the next stage, you have any questions here?
No, Siddharth.
Okay. Now, there takes a very different turn. There was a survey that was done among the people who are basically the machine learning engineers, the one that I was talking about. There were about 582 participants in this survey. They were only asked one common question, that my dear data scientist, if you go ahead and develop a model today, how long did it take for you to get that model deployed into production? So there has been quite a different set of responses from different set of participants, that they said it takes almost a quarter of their time to deploy the model. Some other machine learning engineers said that it takes almost half to 3/4. Some said quarter to half. That means 4 to 6 months. Some said more than 3/4. That means almost a year. So imagine a whole ML team spent their time in developing a model, and there is no skill that is making this developed model to get deployed into production. That means there is a huge gap. The models are being built, data is available, source code is written, model is working, model is predicting, model is classifying, model is able to achieve the goal. But when it comes to real life, I want to go and use it. I want to go ahead and make it available to my end customers at an inference. That means at an endpoint so that they can access it. So at that time, this is not able to be getting handled because a lot of data scientists have given this response that it takes almost a quarter or more to get their models deployed into production. So this gap is something has been a motivation for MLOps engineers to come. That means what is the driving factor that helped the machine learning engineers to adapt to MLOps? Because the time gap related to deployment part. And this skill, when an engineer like you and me builds to get the model deployed using the DevOps principle, we call ourselves as MLOps engineers. Hope you are able to now relate the definition of MLOps engineering, everyone. Participants, everyone, are you with me? So the models are being developed, are now going to be taking a fast lane to get them deployed into production. Arvind, Jeffin, Vipul, Hruday, Saika, Chaitanya, Nilesh, am I going good? So if you people can build a skill to take the models and build the solutions around these models to get them deployed into the environments thoroughly and quickly, then we are MLOps engineer. How it is made possible? Let me explain you participants from here after that what MLOps engineer will. So what is MLOps engineer? Now we have the model. So what is that I will go ahead and do is now I will go ahead and focus on the way the pipelines are being handled. So the pipelines are being handled in this way. Let me take you through the pipeline concept. So participants, I hope you are aware of this latest technology which is being accepted. I hope you are aware of Dockers in your experience, participants. Participants, everyone, I hope you are aware of Docker. Now I'll bring the concept of DevOps and I'll apply it to machine learning. So the first question that I have for you people, how many of you are not comfortable with Dockers? How many of you are not comfortable with the Dockers? If the answer is yes, you may type in the chat yes. If it is, then I'll understand that you are comfortable with Dockers. How many of you are not comfortable with Dockers? Okay, I'm assuming that you are comfortable with Dockers. So if you don't know Docker, one line statement for it, Docker is nothing but you dock your machine learning application and the libraries together. That means you bundle together. What you bundle? Your machine learning code plus the library that makes your machine learning model to run. So what I'll do now, I'll go ahead and build a Docker image which comprises of two things. What is that? Your machine learning code, which is the Python code that I was talking about, which is already trained with your data from S3 or from the cloud storage, plus the libraries that are required for you to go ahead and build the model. So the Python code, which is nothing but the model in this case, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and take the library or libraries, and then we create what? We create a image out of it. Now what does this image will have? This image will have your model, the Python code, the libraries that are required to go ahead and build and run the image you will get to see. So participants, am I clear with the next step that you are expected to go ahead and achieve? So after the model is being developed, trained, ready in your GitHub repo, what we will go ahead and do, we will go ahead and take that model, we will bundle with libraries, and we create an artifact out of it. What is that artifact called as? Docker image, which basically a image of your machine learning application, in which what you will see, your model plus your libraries that makes your model to run. Am I good, everyone? Can I continue with your permission? Participants, I'm not getting any motivation from your side. Am I good? Shall I continue? People says yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
So participants, I hope, yeah, welcome. I hope participants, you're all aware that Docker is primarily helping you to build a Docker image. That's all. But when it comes to production, images needs to get deployed in a highly scalable environment, especially if it is machine learning. That means I should have at least quite a good number of containers always running in a high availability mode. Like I want to go and run at a stretch of 10 containers that are running to support my application, 10 images that are running at a stretch. So I need to have a highly scalable environment to get containers running. So 5 images here in my node 1 and another node 2, 5 more images. If in case one node goes down, there is another node to take over, and the availability of the image should be guaranteed such a way that it needs to get deployed. So from this, you can easily get related to what technology that I'm referring to. I'm referring to Kubernetes. So now a Kubernetes can become the apt solution for me to consider the development of the models and Dockerize them in the form of Docker images, and the built Docker images can be deployed into container environments by adapting to container orchestration called Kubernetes. So participants, did I justify the need of Kubernetes now? So participants, did I justify the need for Kubernetes into the production environment?
Yes.
Everyone? So
Uh,
Kubernetes is now the need for me to deploy. Now, when I go ahead and consider Kubernetes, now let me take a little step back. Kubernetes is what? Basically, getting your Docker images getting deployed into the environment. So take an environment, create an environment of Kubernetes, get your Docker images and run, deploy. So people who have been into machine learning, they have understood that machine learning is just not that a model required, just that a model to be developed. There are various stages that basically makes your model enhanced. And in order to automate this process, the stages of your machine learning also are to be considered. Like what are the stages that we have discussed earlier? The stages of the machine learning are like this, right? Exploratory, data analysis, data preparation, development, training. So these stages are also to be taken care so that they can be brought onto a pipeline. And once they get reviewed in such a way that they also needs to get deployed. Now participants, this framework is readily available on a new generation technology called Kubernetes supported module called Kubeflow. What exactly it is? Kubeflow. So there is no change in the adapting to Kubernetes. So Kubernetes will remain the same. But in order to go ahead and run Kubeflow at the backend, you need to have Kubernetes running. So what I meant with this, if you go ahead and connect with the dots now, that you are trying to go ahead and build a Docker image for your machine learning model, this Docker image needs to get deployed into Kubernetes, but not directly on Kubernetes, but a module of Kubernetes called Kubeflow. Now this Kubeflow is going to be only running if there is Kubernetes. That means anyhow we will go ahead and deploy our Kubernetes image. But here comes a very amazing help from the Kubeflow community. So what Kubeflow will say? Kubeflow says that I can help you to handle your EDA stage, exploratory data analysis stage. It can help you to write your modules in the form of pipelines called Kubeflow pipelines. So you can build your modules, data preparation, data processing, model development, model training in the form of Kubeflow pipelines. So now your efforts have to be pulled from Dockerizing the model images, taking those images instead of directly deploying into the Kubernetes, you need to run Kubernetes. On top of it, you need to run Kubeflow, where Kubeflow is going to help you to build your pipelines that can help you to process your data, pre-process your data, transform your data, train your model. So you are now able to go ahead and handle the entire modules of machine learning with Kubeflow pipelines. That's where Kubeflow comes into picture. So let me do one thing. Let me go ahead and share my screen about this Kubeflow concept that I was talking about. So participants, now can you see my screen, everyone? So along with me, can you type in Kubeflow, everyone? Can you please go ahead and type in Kubeflow? Do you see Kubeflow, everyone? Participants, I don't see you people. Yeah, now I see. So participants, can you go ahead and type in along with me and just type in Kubeflow? So what do you see the definition of Kubeflow? If you just go ahead and look at the definition of Kubeflow, it goes like this. Kubeflow, a open source platform for what? Machine learning and MLOps on Kubernetes introduced by Google. The different stages in a typical machine learning lifecycle are represented with different software components, including Kubeflow, like model development, model training, model serving, and automated machine learning. So, what the stages that I was discussing about? Developing the model, writing the source code to develop a model, training the model. That means you get your model trained in such a way that it will be able to go and give you some outcome. Serving in the sense, I make this model available for people to use, inference. And if you need to do any automated machine learning tasks, you'll be able to do. So all the different stages that we expected to do as part of machine learning, Kubeflow, which is going to be running as an open source module on top of your Kubernetes cluster, is ready, is a one single solution to take care of all that you have. So if you look into the Kubeflow, one line that will change your thought process is that Kubeflow, how it is different from Kubernetes. Kubeflow is not different from Kubernetes. Kubeflow will only work when you go ahead and expect the Kubernetes. That means you should make sure Kubernetes should be working. Then you can go ahead and use Kubeflow on any such. So what I was discussing, the concept of pipelines. That means you can build machine learning module pipelines that help you to go ahead and handle the various stages, right from model development, model deployment, model serving, and automated model machine learning. All these modules are available for you, and also it is available to serve your model. Auto ML, serve, training your model, writing out pipelines. So participants, now you are able to relate the idea of Kubeflow, everyone. Participants, am I clear? Participants, am I clear? Now that you have understood about the Kubeflow, the next step is to take care of the monitoring and maintenance. So as part of the monitoring and maintenance, since it's a Kubernetes environment, you can integrate with the following modules like Prometheus and Grafana. Prometheus shall be your monitoring tool where you can collect your metrics and you can visualize them on Grafana. So what is that Prometheus will get? How many number of containers that are running, active containers, pods, resources, visualize based on the utilization. So you can visualize not only these generic modules, but also machine learning specific modules. So that's how we will go ahead and build a skill as an MLOps engineer right from the start, developing the models, deploying the models. So this is where you need to go ahead and build your skill thoroughly, right from model development, model deployment, model monitoring, model maintenance, model deployment, and automating the entire process. So if you go ahead and connect all the dots, it should be associated with writing of the machine learning code, dockerizing them to build Docker images, then deploy it into Kubeflow running on top of Kubernetes cluster, building the pipelines using Kubeflow pipelines and serving them via Kubeflow serving model. Okay, now I hope participants you are able to get to see and visualize the various stages in the machine learning model. It would be great because it is all the time I have been speaking. Now let's open ourselves and let's be it's a both side conversation. So I'm ready to take your questions and then we can discuss in more detail. Before that, here is the content that I was discussing about. So you will get to see the fundamentals before I go ahead and take your questions. So here is a summary of what I discussed in the form of the content. So you'll get to see the fundamentals for the machine learning model by understanding the concept of Python that is involved, building the Python that is available for taking care for data science, because we need to build a model. So we need to take care the role of a data scientist and write the Python code to get the models built, understanding and getting associated with the fundamentals of Git, then bringing the stage for model development, like training the model, building the model, evaluating the model, then dockerizing the model, focusing on the skills of Kubernetes, Kubeflow for your machine learning, and then I'm also gonna add. I just recently added the another module which is also picking up a lot. That is ML flow. As much as the Kubeflow, ML flow is another module that I would recommend you to add up a skill, which is just been recently added by me, so that it should help you like as much as you considered Kubeflow. ML flow is also picking up a lot in the industry of machine learning, so I have added up, and then maintenance and monitoring involving Prometheus and Grafana. So this way you will be focusing thoroughly on developing the models by yourself, deploying the models yourself, automating the processes, and writing the Kubeflow pipelines by yourself. Yeah, let's go ahead and have some questions. So, I'm participants ready to take your questions. Can we get started to take the questions? Yes, Saikat, please go ahead.
Hi, Siddharth. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Saikat.
Okay, so thing is that like my day-to-day currently job is to designing like infrastructure, three-layer architecture, and some part we are currently using Kubernetes as well. Okay, microservices. Mainly microservice architecture is my day-to-day job actually. Okay, so if I go through this MLOps, like how it can be help in future, or how can I develop my skill through MLOps, and what I am doing in microservices, how can I combines both, and what is the opportunity I can get in future for higher experience level. Currently, I having total 14 years of experience. So in that case, like how is the market opportunities present for this?
Okay, fine. Let me answer the question in this way. I don't have an immediate answer for that. How will it help you? Because you come from a domain where you have your domain expertise. So, if I was in your position, how would I have built the skill and how would I have taken the skill to the next level? So, what I would have done is I would have understood the various stages that are involved in the machine learning. Second, what are the stages that are available as part of the model deployment using Kubeflow? This is what I used that would have definitely built the skill. Then what I've done is whatever the current role that I had, like you given that you work with microservices day in day out. So what I would have done is I would have taken the idea of bringing and replacing the microservices with the modules of Docker images involving my machine learning and deploy them into the environment. So what I would have done is I would have taken this skill to the next level. Like I would have look for an opportunities with a total of 13-14 years of experience gathered together, gather involving machine learning, ops part, Kubernetes, Kubeflow for more opportunities where I would have given a kind of assurance to the new company that I have experience working as Kubernetes into the Kubernetes. Now I have built skills around machine learning. Now I have architecting skills around machine learning, MLOps capabilities involving Kubeflow and MLflow. Then I would be definitely getting better opportunities to be hired as an MLOps engineer or MLOps consultant, an architect. So my attempt was to think, to just to put myself in your role and take my skills to the next level. So, Saikat, I hope I tried my best to
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
your
Thank
question.
you, thank you, Siddharth.
Yes. Questions from Arvind, Jeffin, Hruday, Vipul, Nilesh, Vinod.
I have one question. And do we need Python already? Knowledge in Python already?
Definitely not, but this will be helpful if you are initially building a machine learning model. But if you are into the ops part, that may not be actually required. But when you are building a model, at least 20 to 30% of the model development will happen in Python. So I would recommend if you have some knowledge of Python, that will help. But even if you don't have it, you can focus on dockerizing that Python code so that you don't need to worry about the Python code.
Okay. Okay.
But if you're in the
And,
machine learning side, ML side,
mhm.
building models, thoroughly you need to have. So we'll not be building models that thoroughly. We'll only focus on
Okay.
taking some developing those models to a certain
Okay.
extent where I will use Python. But purely on the ops part, for the deployment part, we will use you know Dockerize, Kubernetes, YAML files. This is
Okay.
what you are required to have.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate Vinod for asking this question,
Yeah.
because I know most of the people are definitely having the same question.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Participants, may I ask you, welcome. Participants, may I ask you a question? Participants, the question is like this. Why do we why do companies are asking multi-cloud skills? Think for a minute, because it has nothing to do with AWS, Azure, or sorry, it has nothing to do with MLOps, DevOps. Why do you think companies are looking forward for multi-cloud skill sets, and how do you justify it? Then I will talk about why I was asking you this question and how this will help you. Any thoughts, right or wrong? Please share your inputs. Why a company like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, if you are working for them, or Capgemini, why they ask you to go ahead and come with multi-cloud expertise? What is your thought about it?
Yeah, there are so many scenarios. We can point out first one, cost redundancy, like a billing. So when the project are using the cloud services, and the second one is that high performance time we can utilize depend on the cloud services.
Okay, very valid input. How about other
I think,
participants?
yeah, security is the main concern here. So sometime, like some public cloud customer don't want to use due to very secure, because they need the very secure things like banking or anything. So that is the reason. As my
Okay, very valid input. Okay, let me share my thoughts on it. I don't want to name my company and I don't want to go into all the details of it. My company is very pragmatic in their approach. What they do is they go ahead and hold everything what they have as part of the main setup in GCP. Main primary setup is they have in GCP. Now, for the purpose of backup, what they tried is they tried to go ahead and keep in AWS cloud. Secondary or backup, whatever you call it as. Let's assume for now backup. So this part comes under BCP, business continuity plan. Now, if a company like ours hires two side by side engineers, cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, anything, that means if two people are only skilled in GCP, only they get hired for GCP. That means we need two more engineers to be hired for AWS also, because they need to support that AWS. So totally now, to have a redundant skills, totally now four people are required. Four people from different domains from GCP and in AWS. Imagine participants a project like a projects where you get to see four people working for the same kind of role. Very limited chances are that they might go for four employees in it. So what they're asking is, instead of having extra employee, they want only one employee plus a backup employee in the position who are skilled. This guy should be skilled in GCP, also he should have skill in AWS. If he is skilled in AWS, he is also expected to have GCP. So this is what is happening in companies. They don't want to go ahead and have multiple people in the job roles. They want to have one person skilled across multiple clouds. So participants, did I justify multi-cloud need in a company? The need for a multi-cloud. Am I good, everyone?
Yeah, yes.
Now the story starts from here. Imagine you got hired for a company where they have built their modules for machine learning modules in GCP. Now you have to deploy into AWS. So tell me, participants, with your experiences earlier, if you go and build a module for GCP, what is the guarantee that you have that model will also work in AWS? What is the kind of guarantee that you can give to your company that you built a model that is working in GCP, tomorrow it has to work in AWS? How, what is the guarantee that you can give? What is the guarantee? If I was in your position, I might have given them very fair chances that 20 to 30% chance that it might work. Or I would have said openly that no, it is not going to work. Why? Because in GCP images are supported. In AWS, I hope you are aware, AMIs are available, Amazon Machine Images. So it's pretty difficult. Now imagine if you go ahead and replace this idea of AMIs and images with the idea of Dockers. Now what do? You go ahead and take Dockers. You build a Docker image of your machine learning model and run it here. It will run for sure, involving Kubernetes. So the concept of Kubernetes in Google Cloud, we call it as GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine. My entire prod system runs on GKE in my company. The same built images developed by the machine learning engineers, what they do, they just deploy it into AWS involving a case, AWS EKS, Elastic Kubernetes service. That means one image is readily going to be deployed into GKE and also into EKS. That is the reason, people, concepts like Kubeflow and Kubernetes are on high demand. That means companies are expecting that you, when you join them, you should have a skill working with Kubernetes, especially for the Kubernetes part like Kubeflow, because it is going to work on your Google Cloud and AWS Cloud. And for both of them, one image is required, one machine learning model image. That is the reason, people, the skill of Kubeflow is really picking up into the MLOps. So the need for a job as a multi-cloud skill set I have discussed, and the solution that I've discussed using Kubeflow. So participants, did I justify the need for Kubeflow for an MLOps engineer, everyone? If it is, can you give me a round of confirmation, everyone?
Yeah, yes.
That is the reason, people,
Yes.
companies are asking, come with multi-cloud skill set, especially with AWS and Azure and GCP, Kubeflow for machine learning, and MLOps, Kubeflow with Kubernetes. Okay, now I'm, participants, still open to take your questions. If you're ready, we can have more questions, but I don't see people asking any questions.
Yeah, Siddharth, can we learn about supervised algorithms?
Supervisor, what is that?
Yeah,
Supervisor?
yeah. Machine learning concept means there are multiple algorithms are there, like a supervisor, unsupervised learning algorithm, K cluster. So those
I'll tell
algorithms,
you,
yeah,
it's like this. You are a DevOps engineer. Will you be interested to go out and write a Spring Boot application code? Be very honest. Honest answer. Would you be interested to write a Java code or a .NET code? Okay, let me answer that question for you. If you were a DevOps engineer, 99.9% chances you wouldn't have been into the role of writing a application code relevant to .NET or Java, for sure, because the developer will write the Spring Boot application, you will just bundle it into a Docker image, and that is what exactly going to happen in your machine learning also. You will not go into the role play of what algorithm, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, class classification model regression, linear regression model. There are hundreds of algorithms where even 1 year of learning is not sufficient to understand. That is not your cup of cake. If you want, I can go ahead and give you a high level overview of how these models are developed based upon what kind of algorithms and what is the role play of algorithm. If you have this much knowledge also, that's fine. But don't go into the role of an ML engineer where you will start learning about supervised learning, unsupervised learning, algorithms, writing the algorithms, classifying those algorithms. No, that is not required. If you want to do that, better you remain in ML part. Don't try to be part of ops part. Just you can remain in ML part. Because even I was in your same position where I was very much curious to understand, but slowly I understood that's a very huge ball game. That's a very huge different ball game where I cannot go and be having a great cup of tea there. So I try to remain only in the ML part, ops part of machine learning. And that was super easy for me because I come from a DevOps background. Arvind, did I
Okay.
justify?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Siddharth.
Even if you're still not convinced, if you want to still there, you can continue that. I'm not denying you cannot continue. You can continue. But what happens over the period of time, instead of deploying it, see the this is a stage that will happen. In the world, there are a lot of machine learning engineers. If you look at the jobs, hundreds of machine learning engineers versus hardly 10 people who are into the ops part. So if I look at the ratio, I can say 10 is to 1 ratio. That means 10 machine learning engineers are there. There's only one MLOps engineer. That's the quite definite ratio that we have as of today. But if you want to remain, then you have to compete with the 9 more, MLOps, 9 more machine learning engineers. That's a real challenge. And you need to be very strong in Python. You need to be very good in understanding, writing the code on Python if you want an ML part.
Thank you,
Participants,
sir.
next question, please. Welcome.
Yeah, see, nowadays I can see like companies are expecting you should be very good in Python as well to writing the source code and other things. Even you are working in DevOps field, so they are expecting this kind of thing. I can see like trend is a little bit changing actually.
No comments, please. Because it's very difficult to justify. Yes, please. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, we'll do one thing, participants. I know it's very late in the evening for all of you, and even I want to give you space. Very simple. I just gave you a route map. Where to start, where to conclude. What do you do? As I always ask the other people also, you do your research, you go ahead and gain more information, come to a conclusion that whether MLOps is something my cup of cake. If it is, Siddharth is here. If it is not, do little more research, then come to me. In both ways, just come back to me. If you're satisfied with your search, you're now sure with your approach, come to me. Siddharth is going to help you. Even if you did not go and understand what I have been discussing today, and even after research you did not get to a justification that you did not understand, come back to me. Let's discuss. So ultimately, based upon the facts that I bring, based upon the research that you do, based upon the information that we have collected all together, then you can come to a decision whether to go in the route of MLOps or to drop from it. That's all for the day, participants. Thank you once again to all of the participants joining me on this session. And I welcome everyone. Very relevant questions, Mr. Siddharth. Will session be in the evening? Okay, now I got your question. No worries. Actually, I did not go ahead and plan about the session or two, but being very honest, I have received a call in the morning from the Visualpath team to take a demo for all of you. So we did had a discussion very early in the morning. So based upon it, I took the demo. Let's see how things go from here, and definitely me and Visualpath team work together to have these sessions in the evening. I'll keep you posted. Okay, people. I know if you're joining from evening, it's gonna be very late for you. Okay, I appreciate people. Okay, thank you, participants. That's all for today, and hope you will come back with your research. See, I'm not expecting that you will make some wonders out of it. Do research, come back with the facts so that we can discuss. With that, thank you once again. Have a great evening ahead. Signing off for the
Thank
day.
you.
Siddharth here. Thank you, everyone.